Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this week's live trading session and trade review session. As always, if you have questions, please put those through to me, and I will do my best to answer them. During the course of this session, and if I'm unable to do that, I'll do it during the remainder of today. We had a bit of an incident earlier this morning just in relation to the stop. The auto stop kicked in, and the risk management system is I think it was reasonably well bedded in, but obviously there are still one or two issues, and if we make an adjustment intraday, unfortunately it appears to activate stops immediately. So we tried to make the adjustment earlier this morning, and it stopped the three positions that I had out far earlier than it should have done. There were stops on one of the trades. One of the trades was slightly in profit, but unfortunately it stopped all three out, which was unfortunate because the market has rebounded subsequently, and with the DAX we're now trading 100 points or 95 points above where we stopped out, and with the Dow we're trading nearly 150 points above where we stopped out earlier this morning. So it's unfortunate, it happens. You live to fight another day. The trades did go against us slightly, or further against me slightly during this morning's particular trade. Could have gone completely the opposite way, but it was a lesson for both Sam and I in relation to the risk management system and in adjusting it intraday. So we won't be doing that again. The other thing that it does is once the automatic stop has triggered once, it stops you from trading again that day. We've overridden that for the benefit of the live trading session that we have coming up. So so obviously you can see the markets on your screens at the moment. The Dow is trading 31,090. And it's been lower for much of the trading day today. The fear of recession, economic slowdown, pretty much a global economic slowdown, is seriously weighing on these markets. And whilst consumer confidence data out of the US yesterday was its worst for some time, and I think part of last week's rally was on the back of some data that suggested that people weren't too worried or weren't overly concerned about the inflationary fears that everybody was facing. So that unfortunately has undone some of the trading that we saw, or the positive trading that we saw to the back end of last week. Pushing higher from these levels, I think, is going to be difficult. We may see a bit of a short-term bounce initially, but the problems that we've been talking about for forever seem to be the same as they've always been. We have inflation running at an incredible rate at the moment. Interest rates are going to be raised again at the end or towards the end of this month. The rate of increase is still possibly uncertain. There are other issues. Unemployment or employment is particularly high at the moment, and something has to give, and the thing that's giving a little bit at the moment is certainly the stock market, and whether it's let's rephrase that. It's probably a little bit more than the stock market. It's pretty much every asset that you can look at, albeit currencies are reacting a little bit differently. I mean, the indices are lower, gold is lower, Bitcoin is lower, so it's very difficult to find a safe haven. I've mentioned this in the past. The only potential safe haven that people are finding at the moment is the dollar and potentially the Treasury bonds, which are showing a better return than they have done for a significant period of time, and maybe there is a bit of asset allocation or reallocation in that regard. The big thing this week is obviously that we have the month end tomorrow. It's also the quarter end, it's also the half year end, and some of the big investment firms may be looking to adjust their portfolios in the wake of those three key dates coming together. So I'm not going to be surprised if we see a bit of a movement to the upside, stocks being bought in order to adjust people or big firms' positions ahead of this particular period. And then of course we have the Q2 earnings to start after that, and people will be very much focused on how earnings are moving ahead, and also the forward guidance that many of those companies will be giving during their results calls. In particular, the banks that will be kicking off in the next 10 days or so. So as we look around the markets, the euro trading 105, sterling 121.48, have come up under, both currencies have come under a bit of pressure during the course of this week. The indices, we have traded up to about 31,100 in the Dow, fallen back about 40 points from there, and the DAX is hovering around 13,040 at this point. Gold just below the 1830 level, and we probably have slightly under 3 minutes to go to the opening bell. So I'm going to and just to repeat, if you do have questions or if there's a point you'd like to make, then please post those on your screens, and I will respond to them. Tomorrow I'm travelling to Belfast in the afternoon, and I will be in Belfast Thursday and Friday. The trading will continue. Tomorrow trading will be quite light from about 11 o'clock onwards, so I'll place trades as usual around the European Open, and possibly one or two trades designed for the US Open, but thereafter trading will be light, because unfortunately it's a 4-hour car journey to Belfast. So I'm just going to open the Dow there for the next few minutes and see how we progress towards the opening bell. I'm going to take it down to a 1 minute chart. Still got a few indicators on there that you can see quite clearly. I want to talk a little bit about moving averages after we finish this session and look at the trades if I have a bit of time. But we'll see how we go. So moving averages, obviously you want to be looking at the daily screens rather than these short dated screens that I'm using at this particular time. Let me just have a quick look at the daily. Probably don't have enough time, so we'll just stick with this for the time being. We're trading there around 31,074, and we're getting close to the open and getting a bit of a lift into that. Ideally, I think what I want to do, and I mentioned this yesterday during the afternoon's trading, that a dip below 31,000 I think does give an opportunity to buy. Unfortunately, if I hadn't been stopped out earlier, I would hopefully still be long going into this market, but that's not the case at this particular point. So we're hovering around 31,090 with a few seconds to go to the opening bell. Just ticking off there a little bit. And I think one of the things that I'm mindful of as we approach this bell is that, so we're live there now, the market is open, and not really moving too aggressively in either direction, but I think the thing that I'm mindful of, certainly when I look at this week, we have seen significant movements within about 10 minutes of the opening bell, and I was speaking to somebody earlier this week who suggested that a lot of people just avoid the first minute of trading. It's actually the first 10 minutes that I prefer. I think it can be more forgiving and I think there is the potential for opportunity if you start to discern patterns that we're seeing in the market. So I think I've got a slight preference to go long the market. I'm just going to put a bid in slightly below where we're currently trading, just to try and take advantage of picking up a few pips below where we currently are. So I think that went in at 31,028, so it's triggered already. Just a little bit slow notifying me, and I'll keep an eye on that as we go through the remainder of this particular session. I'm not looking for anything spectacular out of that trade, just something to have done around the opening bell. So it's ticked up quite nicely there in the last couple of minutes. Probably could have taken profit around 31,050. Unfortunately, didn't have that open quite quick enough when I was talking about it, but I'll continue to monitor that as we go through the next period or so. There's a couple of questions coming in, or there's certainly one. So Ben, how do you change your bias during the trading session? I found when the market switches, I can be caught trying to catch a move that isn't going to come. Yeah, Ben, it's a tough one. I tend not to switch my bias too often. I think that if I've made my mind up about the way that I want to approach the market, I tend to stick with it. So, and that really is as simple as working out whether you want to enter the market from the buy side or from the sell side. So you either think it's going, quite simply, there's a firmer bias to the market, or there is a softer bias, and you make that decision based on some of the technicals that you may look at, and the prevailing sentiment and things that you've seen in the market over the last few days in the run up to that. I make those decisions fairly early in the morning. But a lot of it is informed by what you've seen over the previous days. So, sometimes you can have a particularly difficult period when you're trading the markets, and sometimes it's easier to step away, or you would think it's easier to step away and avoid the markets for a period of time. I personally find that you become, or the longer that you stay away, the more disjointed, or the more less current you become with the market, and it becomes a little bit more difficult to get back in tune with it. So I tend not to shy away from the market, but I am very I'm very strong on developing a bias and being in the market. I think if and I know that there are a lot of technical traders out there who are listening to this, and I prefer to be in the market rather than waiting for a significant number of factors to align to determine that I'm going to trade. You can't make money if you're just waiting around all day. So that's why I talk about bias and how I want to approach the market. And it really comes down to being as simple as whether I want to be entering from the buy side or from the sell side, and then making strong decisions based upon that decision. But far happier to be doing those 8 to 12 trades a day rather than sitting around waiting for something to happen and possibly forcing it. Now, obviously, buying in a falling market becomes very difficult, and a lot of what I do tends to be contrarian, so I'm selling into rallies and I'm buying on dips. So you want to be basing some of that around strong support and resistance levels that you've identified. And I was speaking to somebody earlier this morning who was looking for some direction as regard the DAX and where support may be, and the immediate number that pops into my head is 12,950, because we've bounced off of that level significantly over the last couple of weeks, and that's because I've been in there trading and witnessed the bounce that's come off of 12,950. So And again today, I think I don't know what the low was in the DAX. I can check that, but again, but the movement from 12,950 upwards has been quite substantial, and that's, you only generate that, or you only get the feel for that through being active in the markets and being conscious of the levels that you're trading at. So the DAX has come off a little bit in the last few minutes, but still trading at 13,010. So still a 60 or 70 pip movement from the lows that we saw earlier today. The Dow's still struggling a bit to get above this 31,000 level, but it does, and again 30,900, 30,950 has been a level that the Dow has bounced off a number of times over the last couple of weeks. So I think becomes crucial as we move down into this particular phase of the market. So 30,900 would be a level that I'd be quite keen on maintaining this market above at this particular point. So that was a long-winded answer to quite a short question. I apologise for that, but we'll just have a look at the results so far this week, and obviously I've taken one Dow trade there, so I'll just add that in as we're going through. The trading Monday and Tuesday was consistent, flawless. We had over 240 pips, or probably an average of 260 pips worth of return over those 2 days, and then unfortunately with that technical issue that we had today, the two DAX trades closed out towards the low of the market. It did go a little bit lower, but that's resulted in a loss of about 200 pips, and today 47 pips on the day. So hopefully we'll be able to recover some of that during this afternoon's trading. And as I said, I am travelling to Belfast tomorrow, so the afternoon's trading will be a little bit lighter than normal. I don't think there's anything particular to mention out of all of those trades. The rally yesterday went a little bit higher than I was thinking. I did actually manage to sell there at 31,886. Probably should have made far more out of the move lower, but the rally higher had me spooked. So I was a little bit concerned that it could go significantly higher from those particular levels, and just took profit as we. Apologies, that was a mistake. Don't ignore that trade. That was me picking up the phone and hitting a button that I shouldn't have hit. So that trade at 31,028 is still in play. I apologise for that. I probably don't have enough time to go into the detail that I wanted on the moving averages, and more so the wider moving averages. I'm just going to put that Dow trade back in whilst we're at these levels. Apologies for that. That was me just picking up the phone. So that trade's just gone back in. So I probably don't have enough time to talk about the moving averages now, so we'll do that next week. I'll continue to monitor this trade during the remainder of the afternoon, and hopefully we'll see a bit of a pickup from these levels. As I've mentioned already, 12,950 is a crucial area for me with the DAX. I think 30,900 is an equally important level for the Dow. I'd like to think that we'll continue to see support at both of those levels. But I will revert to you on Telegram during the remainder of the afternoon, and look out for significant moves towards the end of the day today and tomorrow in relation to month-end trading, which I would be fairly sure we're definitely going to see. Thank you very much for joining me, and I will speak to you on Telegram later today. Thank you.